Looney Tunes cartoons and Space Jam: A New Legacy have been nominated for Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. And Will Forte and Lana Condor have been cast in the new Coyote vs. Acme movie. So, of course, you realize this means podcast.
Are you ready, eager young space cadets?
Meep, meep.
I saw a pussy cat.
Is the limit.
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to, of course, you realize this means podcast. Today is a special day because I have on someone who's actually worked with Bugs Bunny, Tweety, Daffy, and all the rest. I present to you animation director and animation supervisor on Looney Tunes cartoons, Joey Caps.
Hey, everybody. It's great to be here, John. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's great to have you. It's great to have the conversation with you, get some behind the scenes of what's going on with the world of Looney Tunes in this new era of animation and talk about all the projects you've been a part of, which is a lot.
See, yeah, it's, I was actually looking back today. I'm like, wow, it's been a crazy ride so far, But I'm so thankful it's kind of just led me right to where I am. I couldn't be happier to be doing this right now.
I couldn't be happier to have you like in this area of the field and have you, someone with such reverence for animation, to be at the forefront of leading the new, Looney Tune charge, if you will, on HBO Max and for kids today and adults that love the classic vintage cartoons, but also want to, have that sense of joy while watching these characters. I mean, there's so much love that's given to the classic characters and everyone takes it seriously. Like it's a really great time to be a Looney Tunes fan.
Yeah. It means so much to everybody watching and to everyone, making it. That's where it's like, growing up, I was actually just talking to someone today and we were talking about, the Looney Tunes, and he was like, my dad just, plopped me down in front of the TV and watched Looney Tunes together. And it was just like a great thing that we did on Saturday mornings together. And then he was like, I realized that he probably did this with his dad. It's just such a generational thing. And it's like so important to everybody, with the way that the world's going. It's always nice to just escape into something familiar and just something wholesome and fun. It's
no better escape than falling anvils and wacky antics on rabbits and ducks alike.
It's so comforting.
So what I want to talk about with you, I want to get into your career, like what led you to Looney Tunes and all of that. But first, we got to cover some news. The big casting announcement of the week. I love how these casting announcements fall on what the internet has deemed Wily Wednesday. There's a hashtag that goes around every Wednesday and everyone posts their favorite Wile E. Coyote image. And I love that we're getting casting for the new Coyote versus Acme movie on these Wily Wednesdays. So this week we had Will Forte from MacGruber and a bevy of comedy join the cast of this wonderful movie. I think that has a lot of potential, as well as Lana Condor, who has really been making a wave in the teen romance genre. And there aren't a whole lot of rom-coms out there these days, but I would say that if you want to find one, To All the Boys I Loved, that series on Netflix is really heartwarming and really fun. And she does a really good job in the lead role of that. So I cannot wait to see her do a more comedic turn. I think that this is a really great role for her. What did you think about this casting?
Oh, awesome. Like when I heard Will Forte, so I'm just such a MacGruber fan. And I'm just like such a Lonely Island, like Jorma Tacone fan. Like when I heard this, I was like, oh God, thank you. This is going to be great.
I love how they're getting actual like living cartoons to play these characters.
You just stole the words out of my mouth. I was like, he could not be more suited for this role. Like I think it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait.
I have full faith in the team over there. James Gunn is producing, and Dave Green, who directed TMNT Out of the Shadows, is directing, and he's already like done a couple of movies that have like a Saturday morning feel to them. So,
Yeah.
him doing a cartoon movie, live action animation, I think is right up his alley for
Yeah,
this.
like everything he's done up to this point is just like another stepping stone to this. I think it's like a great meeting point. I'm super excited.
Yeah, no, me too. What else is there to say? I mean, they're doing a great job over there. This casting has us excited, and whatever realm that Will Forte is going to bring to this lawyer role, he's going to be the one providing a voice for a silent cartoon. Like Wile E. Coyote is
Yes,
a character that doesn't speak usually,
it's got a
and
lot to carry.
exactly. So I'm glad it's falling on his shoulders. Another funny thing that happened though is when this was announced, I put out a poll on my Instagram, which you can follow at This Means Podcast, to see if audiences want Wile E. Coyote to talk or not. And the results were, I don't know if you want to say shocking or not, but
I was shocked.
it
Yeah.
was a dead split, 50-50.
It's crazy. I mean, I was personally in the column of he shouldn't speak. That's just my personal opinion. But I mean, now that we have Will Forte in the mix, like I'm even more in my camp. I think I think he's totally gonna. If we needed a loud, cartoony, boisterous voice in there, like anytime Will Forte speaks, I just can't help but laugh. I don't know how anyone works with him without bursting out laughing. He's just so funny. He's just got such a great sense of timing and intonation in his voice. Like it. I think it'd be perfect if he didn't speak, but that's just my personal opinion.
No, absolutely. And he's also done some really great work with Phil Lord and Chris Miller. He voiced Abraham Lincoln in the Lego movie.
That's right.
And he also was recently in After Party, along with doing the entire series, which I feel like got cut a little short. But Last Man on Earth, he had a starring role in that.
That's
And
right.
his comedy chops again never fail, and he couldn't be in a better place with this. And the team behind it, I feel like, has such reverence for this material. I really can't wait to see this in theaters.
I know. I just feel like everyone, like audiences, want to see something like this. I mean, I know I do. So I think like every project that you see out there in the ether, like the Rescue Rangers, like I think we're as fans, we're just getting like I think you put it good once, an embarrassment of riches. Like we're just so saturated with all this great content, and I think like each one is a stepping stone. I can't wait to see what they do with this. It's gonna be awesome.
Same. I can't wait to see who they bring on as a character witness.
Yeah. like like yeah, are they going to go down the road of like a SNL who's who with pair up, or are we going to go full Tim and Eric realm? Like,
Yeah.
there's
So many
many different
possibilities.
ways we can go here. Yeah. It's gonna be
So
great, though.
this is phenomenal news, and the film is set to release on July 21st, 2023, and that date can't get here soon enough. I believe the film is set to start production next month. So we shall wait and see what other announcements come out from that, but I'm going to be covering all of that. So if you're ever in the dark about something Coyote versus Acme, you know where to check for the latest and greatest. And speaking of an embarrassment of riches, we had 2 nominations come out for 2 of those projects that allowed us more content with these characters, one of which you're involved with. This is Looney Tunes cartoons and Space Jam: A New Legacy getting nominated for Nickelodeon's Kid Choice Awards. And I've already voted. I don't know if you voted yet, but I put my vote in for Looney Tunes cartoons and Space Jam.
God bless you. There you go. I guess that would be a biased vote, but I guess I can vote, right?
It's open to everybody, so yeah.
There you go. I'm gonna get in there.
So Looney Tunes Cartoons has been nominated for Best Animated Show Series right now. And that is a big deal because having the nomination be at the forefront of a kid show, I think, is important to not only get the word out that these cartoons are making a big splash over on HBO Max, but also, like the way that the characters are treated and the way that they've been brought into the modern context, I feel like is such a kudos to the whole team. And like, everybody is doing such phenomenal work over there. I'm so happy the nomination went out to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm just like, I was saying I'm raising a 14-month-old, so like when I'm not at work, my head is there. So I didn't even know it happened, but it was just such. I mean, that's so awesome, and it's just great. We've been getting such good reception. We just feel like people are really enjoying what we're doing. So that's a reward in itself, and just to have this now, to hear about this, is just like icing on the cake. It's so great.
But like around animation, are there many notable sources for you to get a good gauge on what audiences are thinking, like with your show? I think this is like one of the best ones, because like
Yeah,
this is your demographic. This is going to come back and be like, okay, yeah, people are liking it, people are enjoying it, and they want more.
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things, is that they wanted to get kids familiar again with the Looney Tunes. Just making sure that these characters were carried on. But that's just such great news, and it's just a testament to like how hard Pete and Alex and the whole crew have just been like really just trying to make enjoyable content. They want to love something, like they want to watch it. They want to make something that they'd watch, and it's just everyone just trying to outdo each other, make each other laugh, and I think it's really showing through the work.
Kudos to all the work that's being done by the whole team over there, Pete Brownguard and Sam Register, and everyone's eating their carrots over there. So it shows.
Absolutely. We have a vending machine full of carrots. It's like
I would expect nothing less.
Yeah, they cost a bit, but we don't get them for free.
So congratulations on the nomination, and to the whole
Thank you.
team. This is really exciting, and I'll definitely be watching to see how they do. Hopefully they win it.
Yeah, fingers crossed. That'd be cool.
And the other nomination went out for Best Kids Movie, and that's Space Jam: A New Legacy. It has some stiff competition, but Spider-Man is in there.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how that one
was,
turns out too.
Yeah, that was pretty dope. So. But hey, good content all around. That's all that matters. So we're like you said, we're winning, like as audience members.
Absolutely. Just, regardless of how good or bad the movie is, seeing Bugs Bunny and the whole franchise just on screen to me is reward enough for being a fan. And I thought that the animation, especially done by the Warner Animation Group over there, like they really did a good job of bringing out the best in the characters. I thought the character work was great.
Yeah, it's it's crazy because like we were talking about before, when I was coming up, everything, there was a big push for computer animation, and everyone said get out of 2D animation. To make like a basketball analogy, if you wanted to play with Michael Jordan, me growing up, I was like literally the target audience. I love Michael Jordan and I love cartoons, so I was just like the target audience.
Yeah.
And if I was growing up, I would love to play basketball with my hero. Unfortunately, they retire. They don't play basketball anymore. But for animation, like these superstars are still out here and they're still working, and now they're getting to contribute to the property again, and they're just like doing such great work. Like all these like feature animators that are getting to do Space Jam: A New Legacy. Like it was just so great to see so many people come together from so many different areas, and that's a whole other aspect of it now with like people working from everywhere. The team that was assembled for the show was just like incredible, and everyone just like got to, like you said, got to fire on all cylinders. Like it was a joy to watch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know a lot of people that took away the animation segments as their favorite moments, and for good reason. Like there's a lot of legacy animators behind those scenes, and it shows for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so, I'm constantly in awe. Like you were saying, it was WAG, it was Warner Animation Group. So we're obviously separate from that. So I didn't know exactly what was going on. Like we knew it was happening, obviously, but we didn't know, what was going on over there. And just like, I got to just sort of enjoy it. We were doing our thing over here, and then it came out, and I got to enjoy it like completely fresh, and it was amazing. Just and all that stuff, just so amazing.
To diverge a little bit, you did work on a Basketball Bugs short for Looney Tunes cartoons, right?
That one, honestly, I was a board artist on Teen Titans Go. I had been working on Teen Titans Go for a while, and back in the day when they first started Looney Tunes, that was one of the first shorts that they were working on, and I remember seeing the animatic for it, and I was just like, oh my god, I cannot believe they're doing it. Like, it was just so classic, but also modern. They had early on, they had Johnny Ryan involved with the writing, and
Okay.
Pete and David Gemmell. They were all just like really just setting the tone for where this was going to be going. And I remember seeing the animatic for that. I was like, oh my goodness, I need to be involved with the show. How do I get involved with the show? It was awesome.
The animation in that is so lush. The movements are incredibly fluid, and the character design really stands out to me as, taking something retro and making it modern, but keeping the essence of what Bugs Bunny is within those images.
It was really an incredible like tone setter for me. Yeah. And then, when you get drawings from someone like Jim Soper, it's just like, oh boy, I really need to get way better than I am right now, because I do not want to be dragging this thing down.
Not at all, and I don't think you dragged down any part of that or any animated short I've seen in the franchise. But that short also had Eric Bauza doing the Bugs Bunny yelling, which we hadn't seen since the vintage ones. And, he goes up close to the antagonist, the big bully on the court, and he goes, confidentially, and then he yells, I'm winning.
Yeah.
And like, just the timing of that is hilarious, but also, what Bauza puts into it to bring out that personality aspect of Bugs Bunny we haven't seen in so long. Like, was that a part of the whole storyboard process too? Like bringing the yelling back?
Well, I know that. From what I've heard Eric say previously, it seems like he did his homework heavily. Like, he had a perspective on the character that he wanted to, achieve, and like that was, I think that was more of his, like, he wants to bring back like the very manic, very like unpredictable, like vocally, the tone of Bugs. That was something that he really went after. I mean, I wouldn't be able to say, because that short was like before my time when they boarded that, but I think once Eric established like, oh, this is the direction I'm going, I'm sure it was factored in later on for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. And Eric is a fan of the podcast, and he's great. And he also voices another legacy character in this, Tweety Bird, who is celebrating his 80th anniversary of being a cartoon character. And
Crazy?
WarnerMedia has just launched a hashtag Tweety80 campaign to celebrate Tweety. So if you have any fan art of Tweety to be posted online, now's the time to do it, or now's the time to draw some with the hashtag Tweety80 to get it seen. They are coming out with murals across the world, consumer product tie-ins, and experiences with all the Looney Tunes characters, but mainly featuring everyone's favorite yellow canary, Tweety. And yeah, it's been 80 years since A Tale of Two Kitties, the Bob Clampett short, came out introducing Tweety Bird.
That's my favorite one too.
That's amazing. I'm so glad he's been around for 80 years, and I'm looking forward to what they do to celebrate this character. So as things launch, I'll be covering more and more of those pop-ups. So we will have to see. But right now we have a look at 4 different murals that are already up, and just the artwork is phenomenal. It's just like a love letter to this character, and Tweety and Bugs are my 2 favorite Looney Tunes, and to see them both have a really big push for their 80th anniversary campaigns, that excites me, and I hope that this leads to more shorts being released on Blu-ray, as they did with Bugs Bunny, as well as what your team is working on and getting more shorts on Looney Tunes cartoons for us to enjoy.
Yeah, there's definitely more coming. Absolutely. We have a lot of footage still yet to come out, and some of my favorites haven't even come out yet. So it's definitely good stuff coming down the pipeline.
That's a good tease, sir.
Oh yeah, it's a good tease, and it's also true. No, yeah, there's just like all the way up, all the way down the line. There's just some really, great and super classic ones coming out that I can't wait for everyone to see.
Oh, I can't wait for myself to see them so I can talk about them on the show.
Yeah.
What is it about Tweety and his adversarial relationship with Sylvester that is so endearing over the years? And like what was the, I guess, the goal of Looney Tunes cartoons in bringing that to a modern audience? Because you guys go really dark with it.
Well, I think that speaks more to the director's perspectives. Like each one of them has just such a funny sensibility about them. They're all very particular in their own way. But I mean, I guess in general, it's just he's so small. Like he just completely in a normal setting, he's completely out of his depth. But he'll always turn the tides on Sylvester.
Yeah.
So it's everybody roots for a little guy, right? Especially like a little wiseacre.
Exactly. I love it. And it's a formula that never gets old, just the same as Wile E. Coyote's formula or Elmer versus Bugs Bunny. Like those are tried and true formulas. And the Sylvester Tweety one may be the most classic out of that, because everyone can relate, again, as you're saying, to the little guy, and especially the little guy who has baby talk.
Oh yeah, but that never fails to get an audience's endearment as well, right?
Exactly. So we've had so far 4 murals. I'm going to go through them real quick. You can find them on the blog, This Means Podcast, over on the Podbean website. I will also post these up on my social media. First, we had Kate Deller, who is an artist in Austin, Texas, present their art on one of the walls over there with fellow artist and her wife, Julia Dufose. And then we had Monyi Chao. They are a queer Taiwanese Chinese American artist and illustrator based in Seattle. And you can get all of the locations on their social medias, which I will post at the very end of this. And in Mexico City, we had Raul Urias. He's a visual artist and illustrator. His might be my favorite. I'm not sure. All of these are really great. I just love how they incorporated Sylvester in the design of Tweety. And they also have Bugs Bunny on Tweety's foot, which you never see Bugs and Tweety together outside of the Looney Tune Tweety show and when Tweety lands on Bugs' hand. So anytime those two characters are presented together, it just warms my heart. And last we had Alan Barry Reese, an illustrator and graphic artist designer in Buenos Aires, Argentina, come up with a little Tweety Bird who is swinging in his little cage swing and thinking about Granny with the words Tweety spelled out. And, there's references to bird seed, the Wile E. Coyote bird seed, and a couple carrots in there. And it's just, it's just warms my heart to see the love for this character come out in spades across the world. And what WarnerMedia is doing to celebrate this character, I think, is right. And, by releasing more art, it just imprints it back onto either children or adults who grew up with these characters. And it's fun to see.
Yeah. More Tweety. Come on. This is great.
And with that will conclude the news portion of the podcast. So let's talk about you, Joey, and how you got to the world of Looney Tunes.
Well, it was sort of like an indirect route, but I was working on Teen Titans Go. I was a storyboard artist on the show for a little while, and I got to work on the movie, which was a really great experience. That was
really fun movie.
Yeah, it was like, and that was just, again, something I never thought, I'd be participating in a feature film that was, 2D. It was pretty cool.
That show has such a unique style to it.
Absolutely.
Were you able to inject some of your own ideas into that style and help those, creatives like bring their characters to life? Or was it more everything was already established and you just like helped get them there?
Well, for me, nothing is more intimidating than the blank page. With animation, you're usually getting handed, these beautiful storyboards from storyboard artists who are phenomenal animators. So like posing is so already worked out, and the ideas and the shots are all worked out. But when you're a board artist and you're just given a script and it's just a blank page, that could be overwhelming, and it certainly is for me. So where I sort of kind of really sunk my teeth into would be if we were handed a song. In particular, one of the first songs I ever dealt with was a song called Shrimps and Prime Rib. Beast Boy sings this song about shrimps and prime rib, and for some reason, when I'm handed music, I can see the images in my mind like way faster than if I'm just working on like a a straight dialogue scene or something. I don't know. Some of the music just kind of hits me a little faster, and it just poured out of me. And for some reason, I felt like I was a little more adept to boarding out some music sequences, which was cool. And I got to do a few on that show, and that's kind of really where I feel like I started making better strides in boarding.
Nice. Yeah. And music is a big part of Looney Tunes as well. So I can see that connection working for you and in your favor and getting that experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's to me, it's like that other character, it's such a cartoon could be a cartoon, but then as soon as you put music to it, it's like, oh my goodness, now it's real.
Absolutely.
And I just heard rumblings of that they're gonna be doing the Looney Tunes again. They're gonna be revamping the Looney Tunes, and I was like, come on, I'm at Warner Brothers. I need to be involved with this project somehow. I just cannot let my life go by and not participate in some way. I don't care if you let me sleep the floor. I need to be involved. But as it happened, I also do sheet timing on the side, whenever I can, and they needed someone to time out the tests that were going out to the studios. So that's sort of how I kind of stumbled into the show. They were like, "Hey, can you help us out? Setting up these sheets for all the tests." And I was like, "Of course I can." And then it just eventually led to an animation supervisor position, and that was it. I just I've been on it for ever since, which is I never want to leave. I'm gonna try to just stay here forever. I'll be that guy from Office Space.
I hope you never leave, and I hope the series never ends. From a fan perspective, for those out there that don't know what sheet timing is, could you explain that a little bit?
Sure. It's sort of like back in the 30s and 40s and 50s. Everything was done in house. Everybody was basically in one space. But ever since television animation has changed over the years, and so we ship animation out to different studios, whether it be in Korea, the Philippines, or India. There's some great studios, even in Nepal. Like there's just studios everywhere. But we need to communicate with them, and we need to let them know what we're looking for in the animation, because if you don't time it out, you don't really know exactly what you're going to get. So it's basically like a way of just everyone being on the same page. So it's just these long, giant sheets where, animation directors will literally write out every frame of like, so-and-so frame, arm lift here, just we chart out the whole thing. And that gets sent with, designs and the animatics and all that stuff. It gets sent to the overseas studios. And then when it comes back, we check it and see if hopefully we all lined up. So that's
nice.
It's fun, but it's a totally different aspect of your brain. Like it's a nice thing to do, because it's like animating in your mind, is my mentor Kimson Albert would put it. He's just, you're animating in your mind, and it's if you look at it that way, it's a lot of fun, and it's also can drive you crazy sometimes. But
yeah, it uses like an analytical part of your brain instead of the creative, because you're just trying to hone in on how the character is posed for every frame. And I mean that's super fascinating, and that's an aspect of animation you don't really hear a lot about.
I know, and it's funny. They're always in need of sheet timers. It's sort of like I don't want to say a lost art, but it's with different technologies coming in and out. Sometimes we're on a shortage of artists who know how to do it, or people who are willing to do it, and they always need sheet timers. And hopefully, for my sake, hopefully that's never going away. But it's a really a great art, and it's so cool to just have a vision in your mind, and then an artist, however many miles away, sees that you guys connect on the same level. Like, oh yeah, this is what we should do. And then when they get it, and it's like everyone was on the same page, it's like magic. It's so cool.
Oh wow! Like real movie magic coming together, and
yes,
that spark of joy you get.
Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, maybe it's not similar, but in my mind, it's similar. Back in the day when a director of photography would shoot a movie, No one else really knew, is this going to work out? Is the lighting, is everything in focus? Like, and the director of photography was like this master of ceremonies. He's like, oh no, it's going to be beautiful. Don't worry about it. And then the footage would come back after a certain time. And if he did his job right, boom, you got exactly what you wanted. It's like you said, it's like magic.
Nice. Absolutely. Another one you worked on is Venture Brothers, and that show is wild, first of all.
Absolutely is.
But the way the characters are drawn, there's such unique designs and poses. What was that process like?
Super intimidating and humbling. It was, I mean, that show it just has such such a depth to it, and such a history involved in the show, that it was, when I came in, I believe I came in on the 6th season, and
Wow.
it was definitely intimidating, but it was a lot of fun too. And I was getting to work with my friends back in New York. Like, they needed animation directors to do sheet timing for it, so that was probably a great entryway for me to work on the show. And
Yeah.
of course, I got some really complicated sequences, but it was a lot of fun, and always a challenge. Venture Brothers is always a challenge. There's nothing easy about that show. It's a beast.
I always prefer having really difficult tasks at the forefront of something, so that way I can like dive in deep, and really grow as an artist. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I, you know, commend them for doing that, because it probably made you a better, all around artist and animator.
Absolutely. And even for audiences, like, we we want to, if it's going to be engaging, we really want to be pushing ourselves as much. Nobody wants to be like sitting back on their laurels. So the team over there, the writers and directors, they certainly push it to the limit, like, and we all benefit, from it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think that might have been my last project at Titmouse in New York, was sheet timing on the Venture
Okay.
Brothers, which was cool. Which was, I mean, talk about multiple characters on screen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There was it was the casino Gargantua 2 in space, and like I had to do a casino scene, and it was just like I don't know how many characters on the screen, and you get this much space on an X sheet, so it was just like, that was a little. I learned how to write very small. That was a challenge for sure.
Sounds like it. Wall to wall characters. Wow.
Yeah, it was wild.
And those characters are larger than life for sure. You
Oh
have
yeah,
like, all ranges of body types.
yeah. Oh yes, absolutely. They're just like, but it's just such a cool design. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many times that I've worked around Stephen DiStefano, who's a designer on our show. Just, he's another genius, and it's just like watching the work come out and then the work come in. It's just like, oh my god, what am I doing here? The level of imposter syndrome with each project is just getting more and more intense. It's incredible.
You're not an imposter at all. You're incredible yourself.
Thanks,
So I wanted to touch on this. I'm not sure how much involvement you had on this. Birds of Prey, the Harley
Birds of
Quinn
Prey.
movie, has
Yes.
an animated opening that shows the origin of Harley Quinn. That is a phenomenal piece of animation. What was your role there, and how long were you on that?
That's right. Yeah, I was on Looney Tunes at the time. We were maybe a year in or something, and this little sequence was brought to the studio to flesh out. And the showrunner from Teen Titans Go, P. Michael, he was in charge of directing that sequence, and he nicely asked. He was like, "Hey man, would you be willing to help us out a little bit?" And I was like, "Absolutely, dude. Like, whatever I can do." I never thought, going to school at the time that I went to school, that I would ever get to be involved with 2D animation in a feature in any capacity. And luckily, I got to participate in the Teen Titans Go to the Movies film that ended up being in theaters, which was amazing. And then, so for a second time, I'm getting to participate in a feature film with 2D animation. I couldn't believe it. So I was like, I will do whatever you want. I just want to be involved somehow. So I got to do a couple of shots for that sequence, which was a real treat.
Nice. That is Harley Quinn being raised and then finding love in the Joker, and that's never a good thing.
Yeah. What could go
Uh,
wrong?
yeah, what could go wrong? And we've actually reviewed the movie Birds of Prey. We liked it, and also there's a relationship between Harley and Tweety, because Harley Quinn was born within the world of Batman, the animated series, and they loved putting Looney Tune gags in that show. Obviously, Paul Dini coming from the world of Tiny Toons made a lot of sense. So when there's a Harley Quinn movie, you can bet your dollar that there's going to be a Looney Tunes reference, and there was.
Dang.
So
Always making the tie-ins.
always got to get the tie-ins, that synergy, that glorious
Synergy.
Warner synergy.
That's awesome.
Listeners, if you haven't gone back and watched that, I highly recommend it. It is really a really strong piece of work. And you also Teen Titans Go to the Movies. I want to touch on that real quick. That was a really fun experience for me, because I sat around some really enthusiastic kids and they were super into it, and I was also into it, but just the look on their faces, and Batman's Batmobile getting a movie before Robin, and just like the whole the premise of the movie is really fun, and I'm glad that somebody thought of this.
It was only a matter of time, right? It was just like a natural evolution, and we were so proud of that film. Like, everyone worked so hard to get it out the door, and for a long time I didn't know if it was going to work out. I mean, we did our best, and I think it really showed. Like, it was just, we had so much fun doing it, and I think that's when you see it in the film. Like, you could feel that fun and love for it.
Yeah, you definitely can, and also it has a really great soundtrack. I go back to that
Oh
soundtrack
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
once a month, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, I could die a happy man. I got to do a voice in a feature film, and my little, claim to fame or whatever is my last name is Capabianca. And Capabianca came right before Nicolas Cage. So my name is literally right above Nicolas Cage in the credits.
Nice.
And I can die happy. I was like, oh my God, that is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. My name next to Nicolas Cage. It's like, okay, I'm done. It's all downhill after this.
Phenomenal. That's one of those once in a lifetime opportunities, and
Yeah, just like pinch me moment.
Exactly.
I'm like, what is going on? What am I doing here?
Kudos to that. That's amazing. And again, if you haven't seen Teen Titans Go to the Movies, what are you doing? You should definitely be checking these out. And
Check it out.
one other thing that you were a part of that doesn't get a lot of praise, and it should, are the Tom and Jerry shorts. There are 2 of them that came out right around the time of the movie's release, the latest Tom and Jerry movie. And they're called On a Roll and The House That Cat Built. And I believe you were a supervising director on these. Am I wrong?
That's right. Yeah, we were, I guess, maybe like a year and a half into the Looney Tunes, and we got to do these, 2 shorts, and like, I feel like everybody was just like getting up on all cylinders. Like, we were getting really, strong in our production, and it was just like an amazing, I couldn't believe, for one, that I was working with the Looney Tunes characters. And then this opportunity comes along, like, what? Of course, like, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And just the design, the art direction, it was just so beautiful. So for me, I was like, so many times on the show, I have to literally just disconnect myself from what I'm doing, or else I'd start freaking out. Like, if you think, oh my goodness, I'm drawing Bugs Bunny, then I'm going to lose my mind. I'm like, oh my God, too much pressure. But really had to pull that in for Tom and Jerry, because I was like, oh my, this is crazy. I can't believe we're doing this. And I really think it came out so great. Like,
It
we're
did.
just so proud of what we did. Like, it was more. I want more.
Hashtag more Tom and Jerry, starting it now. Hashtag more Tom and
Yeah,
Jerry, get it trending.
I'm gonna be doing that. Yeah.
I loved the lush backgrounds, as was a tradition in Looney Tunes cartoons, and a staple for that series. And then also the character designs, which I'm guessing and assuming Jim Soper had something to do with, because he is phenomenal when he is.
Yeah, nobody draws them like Jim.
He brings out such of the best aspects of these characters from their retro designs and pulls them into modern. It's amazing to see.
Completely. Yeah, it's like I've been going to the school of Jim Soper now for the past like 4 years, and like I'm still getting C minuses. But like one day I'll get an A in his class. But yeah, like I just it's just so amazing, like with how the internet has changed, the landscape of like, what a crew can be, especially during these times. And like, you know, I I'm ashamed to say that I wasn't familiar with Jim's work until we started working on the show, and just, his artwork, the influence that he's had has changed me as an artist like for forever. And I owe him so much. It's just such a pleasure to just get to see his work and just be involved with it. It's really unbelievable.
Yeah, I bet. And it's beautiful to look at. So,
Yeah,
keep doing what
doesn't
you're
hurt.
doing,
Yeah,
dude.
absolutely. Thank you, Jim.
All right. So let's dive headfirst into Looney Tunes cartoons. You are animation director and supervisor on this show.
Yeah.
You are working with top tier talent: Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, Tweety, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, and two of those characters are getting a movie.
Yeah.
um, what is it about these characters that have lasted the test of time and are endlessly watchable and always funny?
Well, I feel like for the I was talking to a friend, and he was like, oh, I'm watching this with my kids now, and it made him think about how he used to watch it with his father. And then it hit him where he said, and I'm sure my dad watched it with his dad. And so it's just generational. It's like, it's so cool that, these characters are so timeless. They speak to any generation, anytime. And, I really am thankful that I get to participate in something like that, something that's timeless and classic.
Yeah.
And for me personally, like one thing I've been learning about myself in general is just, and now I see it in the Looney Tunes, which is interesting. And I think this probably helps contribute to it being classic, is like, whenever I try to force something in my life, it usually like blows up in my face. If I'm trying too hard, I just want to force my will on something, whether it's animating a scene or trying to put together a piece of IKEA furniture. If I'm just like, just trying to force it, it usually just ends up blowing up in my face. But if I learn to just, relax and just take life as it comes, and, not try to impose my will onto something, usually that benefits me and, helps me get whatever I'm trying to do accomplished, like just calming down and keeping my cool, I guess is the easiest way to put it. And it's funny, you see that in the characters. It's like any character that's trying to impose their will on another, that usually blows up in their face. It never works out for them. And it's like, Bugs Bunny, Tweety, these characters who just take life as it is. They don't try to make it what they want it to be. They just accept it for what it is and take people and characters and situations as they come, usually end up benefiting in the long run. I'm like, I think subconsciously, I don't know if I'm thinking about it too much, but subconsciously, I think it's like, oh, that's the way I should be approaching my life, rather than, letting my inner Yosemite just go, oh, that rat, just like letting that boil over and, lose my ish. But
No,
yeah,
absolutely. It's
I
a great
I
mentality.
yeah, I think it helps only contribute to how classic it is and what it means to me. It's just definitely good life lessons from rabbits and ducks.
Yeah, I think we could all learn something from that, and getting ourselves out of our own way. Like that's
Yes,
just sometimes that's what's stopping us from doing something. Like we're in our heads too much, or we're
100%.
yeah. That's beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
really glad that's how it speaks to you, and that you're a part of it. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm luckiest guy ever. So I'm always like, how did I get here? I don't know, but I'm just gonna keep going.
So Looney Tunes cartoons launched during the global pandemic, and it was, scheduled on, the calendar, and we were counting down for 3 years for this show to launch. And then it launches March 2020.
Crazy.
What was it like launching a new series during a pandemic, and like the whole Skype conversations, or I guess Zoom conversations that we adapted?
I feel so I feel so lucky that for a while, like you said, we were already in production for at least like a year and a half or so, a year and a half, 2 years ballpark before the pandemic hit. So we were all, in studio working together, getting that great in studio experience, and then we shifted over to online remote work. So for someone who starts a project now and doesn't physically get to meet their crew, that's got to be such an awkward, feeling. So we at least had that familiarity with ourselves, and so I think transitioning was, fairly, you know, not as daunting. But I couldn't imagine for a crew that, like, if you were starting a show right now and it was all remote, that's got to be tough. My hat's off to people who have had to go through those experiences. But we've been really lucky that we had that time beforehand to all get like really tight as a crew, and then we all just transitioned over. But yeah, so we were working in the studio for at least like a year and a half to 2 years, and we were all like loving it, having the greatest time ever. But you feel like, when is the world going to see this? Like, we're just making these things and we can't wait for the world to see them. And then for it to get released while we were all remote and working from home was like, interesting. It was definitely different, but I'm
Yeah.
just glad that they're finally out. There was that time where I'm like, when are they going to get out? And now they're finally out. So, and it seems like people are really responding and enjoying them. So that's, I couldn't be happier about that. That's great.
Well, it's been nominated for a Kids' Choice Awards, so
Yes.
someone's paying attention. But
Win.
but yeah, I'm so glad they're out too. And as soon as it was announced, and they had an image. I think it was the Soper design of Bugs Bunny was the first one that went up, and I was just like, when is this happening? I need to
Yeah.
be there. I need to watch this. I need it in my eyeballs. And I'm so glad that there was such a strong camaraderie and workman mentality together in studio before this all happened. That's great to hear.
Yeah, that's all a testament to Pete Brownguard and Alex Kerwan, and just what they decided early on was important to them. Like, just like for small example, like Pete always wanted there to be this element of camaraderie, and we're all doing this together. And so he sort of instituted this thing where when the boards were getting ready to be shipped, he would have the board artists pitch their own individual boards to the entire crew. So he would get everyone together in the conference room, and we would all watch one of our many insanely talented board artists pitch their latest short. And they would be acting it out, doing all their sound effects, and they would just be having fun performing this thing that they work so hard on. And they would get a temperature read in the room. Oh, this joke is landing. This is great. Like, and we were all just dying laughing because like some of those guys are Looney Tunes themselves. But yeah, it was just like, I never had an experience like that, and it was just so cool to be a part of that crew. It was like it was an honor. It was really cool. And I think,
Wow.
once again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I feel like it just continuously shows itself in the work.
To be a fly on that wall, like
Yeah.
just to hear
I
all
think
those
there's
pitches. Oh man.
there's got to be recording somewhere. Someone's got something. I'm sure it'll find its way out there one day.
Oh, I hope so.
I hope so too.
That would be incredible. Is there a difference in sheet timing on Looney Tunes cartoons versus another project you worked on, like Steven Universe, or Teen Titans Go, or is it pretty much the same?
That's a great question. I would say I try to approach them all in the same way. Like, I want to give each project 110%. And the only thing I would say is that I guess a show, for instance, like Steven Universe, everyone on that show, they were just like master board artists and comic artists. They just were just master storytellers. So a lot of what was handed to me from the storyboards was very, very fleshed out, very particular. And, so much work is going on before I get something that I never want to start injecting too much of myself. It's like, it seems like this is pretty well thought out. So I just want to hit what they're looking for. Whereas maybe Looney Tunes, we can get really, really particular about performance choices, and like, leaving a little bit more room up to spontaneity, or getting a little bit wild with overshooting and antics and smears. That's the one thing I've been. Oh, that's my beautiful daughter yelling in the background. I don't know if everybody can hear that. Love you, Ella.
Beautiful.
But yeah, like with Looney Tunes, for instance, we really want to get into those like awesome smears, really getting dry brush effects in there, from really getting that old authentic feel to how they used to make those cartoons. So really taking advantage of like hard overshoots and smear drawings, and just having a lot of fun with timing. And it's so I guess in the most long-winded way, it's both treated the same, but just, I guess, different beasts, different animals. But it's definitely a challenge to keep it, have those separate languages, but also, each having, the same standard of quality.
Yeah, speaking of the old way to do it, so technology has obviously advanced over the last 80 years. So you're animating Marvin the Martian and Elmer Fudd, and like those two have different walk cycles. Obviously, Marvin has like a little scurry,
Yeah.
and you don't really see his feet at all when he moves.
Yeah.
And Elmer has the slow, methodic, hunting, like slow hunter. What I guess what was adapted from the classics, and what had to be completely re-innovated by today's technology to bring these characters to life?
Well, I guess I don't know if we were, trying to reinvent anything too much as really kind of adhere to what the design department was really laying down, which is like, volumetric drawing, really trying to make sure that we're keeping the characters dimensional and volumetric. And, just trying to, one thing that, they always talk about, Wile E. Coyote or something, Roadrunner, the posing in those shorts, all the humor is in those held poses. And it's just like strong, dynamic drawing, like, really focusing on that and hitting
Yeah.
those poses well is really more so than like, adhering to any strict, timing of animation. Cause we can go, depending on what joke you're going for, you could do any sort of timing that you'd like. But really, I think it was mostly about strong posing and strong storytelling composition that really kind of was the mandate from the top.
And those Wiley shorts, those have a really great sense of depth to them that the other ones I feel
Absolutely.
they don't necessarily have, but they don't need. Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner are in the desert, and you really need a good sense of depth and distance.
Yes.
And I love the way that I want to say David Gemmell does that work.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's just such a strong sense of design and composition, like you were saying. Just that vastness of the desert. It could be
Yeah,
a joke in itself. This guy's all alone. He's just trying to get a meal. Like that can really be such a strong storytelling element if you use it properly.
totally. One aspect that you helped out on was there's a scene in Pirates Progress, or Pirates Prowess, where
Oh,
Elmer Fudd
Pilgrim's Progress.
Pilgrims. There we go. Pilgrims. Where Elmer is using an axe, and he's
Yes.
he's
Yeah.
trying to get some direction on how to bring food back onto, I guess, the ship, or just as they landed at Plymouth Rock, and he swings an axe a certain way that you elevated. I
Yeah.
watched
Well.
it last night, and it had me laughing, just the animation of
Oh,
him
thanks, man.
trying to hold this axe. Yeah, it's great.
Well, that was so my position is dealing a lot with the X sheets, on the front end, going out to the studios, and then on the back end, when the animation comes back, I deal with doing retake animation and then internal animation, like heading up our amazing internal department who basically saves the day all the time. Artists like Hal Newman and Brienne Van Tool, like they are the unsung heroes. They're totally we're grinding away on the back end trying to help make these shorts as good as possible. But that was a good example of just a scene that just never really worked out, and it happens. Sometimes it just things fall through the cracks, or they just never really got the intention of the board. It's normal. But that scene in particular, I was like, you know what, I really want to take a stab at making this like a little bit more special. And so I was able to get in there and animate it myself, which was fun, but also had to do it like twice as fast. So it was, fast and furious trying to get it done. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to just, kind of make a meal out of something that maybe could have been handled simply, but, just having some fun with it. Like the pilgrim chief guy hands him this giant axe. I'm like, oh, maybe this axe is really heavy. And like, what if he almost smacks himself in the face with it? And just like having fun with Elmer stumbling around was just a lot of fun to just get to play with it, which was cool.
It translates, man. It's great.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like, again, one of those moments where I was like, just working. Don't think about it too much. Don't think about what you're doing, because if you think about it too much, you might get locked up in your own mind. Oh my goodness, I'm animating Elmer Fudd. This is a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Like, I have to constantly just like kind of let my mind go blank and just focus on the work. Because if I think about it too much, I'll get freaked out.
Yeah. Well, you're doing great. And the comedy is such a unique part of this franchise. They really go for it and go for the gags. What is it in the timing that is so important for comedy to work? And does music play a part in that process, or is music completely absent until later on?
That's a great question. I think all three of our directors, along with Pete and Alex and Aaron, um, everyone has such a music sensibility to them. So I think music is such an important part of the show, and our composers that we have, Josh and Carl, are just unbelievable at really bringing home that like authentic classic scored feel to the shorts.
Yeah.
Our process though, for the shorts right now has been, we'll be working a little bit more on the front end with, actually Dynamite Dance is a perfect example of using, they had a piece of music that they wanted to do, and later on we were able to rescore it, but that was like, we had something classic that we wanted to do, and we were able to board to that. And
Okay.
David
Cool.
Gimmel, single-handedly just made that such an incredible little piece. I thought that was such a great way to just introduce the cartoons back to the world. That was just such a punch in the face. It was so classic to me that I was like, oh, that's the way you kick it off.
Totally. It was fantastic.
Yeah, just like, yep. I was like, this guy knows what he's doing.
No dialogue, just the characters running after each other. Oh man, and such beautiful backgrounds, and the character designs were on point, and to the beat of the music. Like, oh, it was so good.
So cool. And that one was animated by a studio, Tonic DNA, and they are just like, masters, like so good. Every time we know that we're having something come from them, I just like, I can't wait. I just can't wait. It's like a treat for me. It's just unbelievable talents up there in Montreal.
What is it about animating these characters that's so special? And I guess on paper, what sets them apart from other characters that you've worked on, or just like in the franchise itself? So like, what's the difference between Marvin the Martian and Elmer Fudd on paper?
Well, I think early on they wanted to establish a sense of volume to the characters. Like in our version of this, we really wanted to get back to basics and really focus on, strong composition, strong posing, but also, making sure that the characters they felt solid, and that
Yeah.
there was dimension to them, and that we were always trying to like do our best to, because we're following in the footsteps of masters. So if we're gonna go in this direction, we want to just do the best we can with like really getting each pose, every idea, bottled down to its most like core design and pose. So like, I really, it's one of the scariest things for me. It's been, however many years now, and I still feel like I cannot draw these characters. They're so difficult to draw. But yeah, I think that's really been the main focus for me, at least. And I know it was in the beginning, we really wanted to like hold ourselves to a high standard. And, with designers like, as we spoke about before, Steven Stefano, Dan Haskett, Jim Soper, like the drawings that were coming out of those guys were just unbelievable. So it's like every step of the way, we wanted to just get as much as we could out of each drawing and really keep that quality level high.
Yeah, and specifically Jim Soper's designs, which I'm seeing him post on Instagram all the time, like they really harken back to what Bob Clampett was doing, what Chuck Jones was doing, like at the beginning of their careers, and bringing that to the forefront of this show really shows the attention to detail, but also just the way that Marvin walks. Like Marvin the Martian has always had a distinct walk, and when I see him walk in the new shorts, it's like, yes, that is true to his footsteps and how like they scurry along.
Yeah. Yeah, him and the evil scientist with Gossamer, they both have that little 4-frame little smeared walk cycle.
Absolutely, yeah. Dr. Frankenbeans has a similar walk cycle. Yeah. And I love that you said that you have this, I guess, fear of getting it wrong, but there's also like a humbleness to that. That means that it's in the right hands because you don't want to mess it up, and you have that much care for these characters and how they're supposed to be presented to an audience.
Different phases of the properties come and go. Like we've seen a lot of different Scooby-Doos and Looney Tunes. It's like this is a moment in time, but while I'm here, someone will do it 10 times better than me one day. Like it'll move on beyond like our crew, but like for the time being, it's like this is like where I want it to be, and I just need to give it like 110%, because that's the other thing too, just being surrounded by the crew that Pete and Alex were able to assemble for these is just such high caliber. It's like every day going in, everyone was so excited to see. I mean, I remember one of the board artists, Mike Rocco, another huge voice in this show. Me and him, he would come into my office some days and we would just have hour-long conversations about animation and art, and it's just like everyone in the crew just could not wait to come in and get together and just make this thing. And it really just, I think it elevated everybody, every
Absolutely
day.
And it shows in the show.
Absolutely. I think so, for sure.
So an aspect of this that I'm always curious about is the classics were made in a time of hand-drawn animation and like so much work, and the things took 9 months to turn around. You guys aren't taking 9 months per short because of today's technology and what you're able to do with that. But what was able to be, I guess, brought over from the classics into the new shorts, or what had to be completely re-innovated by today's technology to bring these characters to life?
Well, I mean, I guess the process of, television, or I don't know what TV is nowadays with streaming, but the process of television animation obviously had changed with, X sheets and shipping animation overseas. Whereas back in those days, everyone was in a single building making the same thing together, which, I'm sure was a magical time, but it's really challenging, but it's also a lot of fun. One thing that I really loved, that Pete decided early on that he really wanted his board artists to pitch their boards to the whole crew. So whenever it was time for episodes to be done, ready to go, when the board artists were delivering, they would get the whole crew together and we would all watch board artists pitch, sometimes perform their boards, and they would really get a good sense of like, are these jokes landing? Has this timing feeling like? And it was just great camaraderie too. Just having everyone get together, have a laugh. Put your pencil down for a little bit and go enjoy someone perform their latest short. And I love that aspect of it. And
let me interject and just say that there are some really strong comedic geniuses over there, especially on the boarding team, because
oh my god, yeah,
these shorts have some really disturbing but also hilarious comedy injected into them. And if you're saying all of these pitches are coming just from the storyboard artists, like that's saying a lot from just the artists behind the story, like the characters and like the devotion to these stories that they want to tell with these characters. And from what I've seen from this show so far, it has spoken to, what was started back in the 40s, and like the legacy continues.
Yeah. And I mean, that's also missing the fact that there were heavy days of, I wasn't personally involved with it just because I was more of a just sequestered, worrying about animation stuff in the beginning. I didn't really get involved with writing stuff. Wasn't my department, but
Okay.
there were heavy writing sessions with the writers, Johnny Ryan and Jake Fleischer, who, funny story, my first day, they set me up in an office with one of the writers on the show, Jake Fleischer, who, if you can imagine a writer for the Looney Tunes, he is the best. He's hilarious. But I remember just walking in my first day and like, okay, you're going to be sitting with Jake. And I was like, oh my goodness, this guy, of course, this guy's a writer for the Looney Tunes. He is a living cartoon. He was hysterical. And there was a lot of work done in the writer's room with Pete and the directors and the writers, like. And then, of course, with the storyboard artists, like, it just, what they came up with, for me, I enjoy animatics on their own. So I was like, you can put that on TV. I'd watch that. Like, it was great.
Oh, wow. That's a whole dynamic I haven't even thought of. So like these writers came in and like gave a bunch of story ideas, and then the storyboard artists just brought those to life. Is that how it worked?
From what I saw, it was just completely collaborative. The storyboard artists and the writers and the directors, they're all in the room writing together. So I could imagine. And then you walk in after one of those meetings and you see all these hilarious doodles on a whiteboard. And it's like, I don't know what the heck they were talking about in here, but something's going on.
That's great.
I'm sure those were pretty wild meetings. They were, and it shows in the work. It was hysterical.
Yeah. Obviously, this whole team is bringing their A game to it. And there's obviously top tier talent behind the comedy. These shorts have such a, like, they bring the scope in, and we really concentrate on usually two characters at a time to see like how they're interacting. And those interactions really have depth to them, and they play off in these really comedic ways that they leave you with such a feeling of like, I don't know what I just watched, but yeah, like that was the characters, and like that's how they would react in that situation. I'm thinking specifically of Mummy Dummy. I don't know if you can speak to individual shorts by themselves, but
Sure.
Mummy Dummy is this really crazy taking bugs on that whole I'm going to go traveling and go to Vegas scenario, and he winds up in ancient Egypt, and he's dealing with confronting a monster essentially brought to life, and he gets mangled and like really like taken against the ropes.
That whole sequence, I'm like, I don't know how this is ever gonna be shown. I was like, even for me, I worked on Super Jail, and then when I was watching that sequence, I was like, whoa, okay. I don't know how this is gonna make it, but it did. But yeah, that was pretty wild.
So one of the things I just covered on the podcast last episode was the many deaths of Bugs Bunny, and that was a highlight because it looked like he was a goner, and yet he comes back, and I love that they stayed true to the character, because after Bugs Bunny is dead in a short, he always goes after the antagonist's butt in some way, and sure enough, after he comes back to life, he starts whipping the butt of the mummy with his own wrappings.
And they did not disappoint, yeah.
So again, the attention to detail, the comedy writing, I think there's a really great team in place for this. Could you see this going on for a few years, or like
oh God, I hope so.
Yeah. Like
I honestly, I could do this forever. It's a dream come true job, but I'm sure they have their plans, but I could certainly do it forever. I wish someone would let me.
I hope they let you.
Well, that's what I mean. I know, it's been announced that the movie is happening, and like that, I'm super excited for, because it's a feature, so that is taking what we've established and going in a to a different format. Like, what is that going to be like? I'm not sure. I have no involvement in that, but I'm just curious. What are they going to do with that? That's going to be an interesting exploration of the characters and where they can go.
Yeah, you're referring to the feature that we had a little bit of information drop on. So it's Daffy and Porky against possibly an alien invasion. We're not quite sure what's going on there, but
Yeah, I'm
the
not sure.
the still that has been released is them delivering newspapers. And, any situation with
Innocent
Daffy and
enough, yeah.
Porky is fantastic.
Yeah.
Speaking of Daffy, he gets into some really wild antics in this show. What is the craziest or wildest idea that has ever been presented to you for this character?
Well, I was actually thinking of it when we were talking about just like how wild this show is. For me, I actually just watched it earlier. Practical Jerk.
Oh yeah,
That one, I'm just like, how did we get away with this? Like, it just keeps going and going and going, and we're just like, and now we're in a graveyard. I'm like, how did we get here? To me, that was like Kenny Pittinger. I love it. He's so funny, and I can't believe he always will push the envelope for sure. And that one for me is my favorite. It's just like, oh, that was nuts.
it's so nuts. It does the tension thing where it's like it blows up the balloon, and like there's so much tension of like, what have you done?
Yeah.
And then it lets it out in a really fun way. For people that haven't seen it yet, this is Practical Jerk on HBO Max. It's available now. Daffy and Porky have a April Fool's off, but it's mainly Daffy going against Porky and just setting him off with prank after prank until he kills Porky. He kills Porky Pig. And then years pass, decades, and Daffy just keeps returning to Porky's grave going, I don't understand how this happened.
so bleak.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
And then Porky
And
jumps up out of the grave and is like, April Fool's gotcha. It is wild. So yes, that is clearly a really great example of what this show has to offer.
You can enjoy all that graveyard humor right here.
I love the gallows humor, though. That's always been a part of Looney Tunes. Like, if you go back to the originals, there's all of these jokes around really morose topics, but they present them in a way that is palpable to an audience. Obviously, the classics were not intended for just kids. They were supposed to be interstitials before you watch a movie, a feature-length production from Warner Brothers, and they just became this kid-centered in a marketing sense thing. But you're taking it back to what it used to be. Was this Pete Brownguard's vision, or did that come out organically of like working with these characters because they went back and saw what was done before?
I would be guessing at this point, but I would I would say that that's probably his wanting to pay reverence to what had been established beforehand, and like, yeah, they wanted to stay true to the characters, and you don't have to talk down to the, they can keep up, they can handle it, as long as you finally, like you said, if you let the air out of that balloon, like, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I think
absolutely.
At the time when these were initially started, we didn't necessarily know where they were going to go, so I think that also kind of gave a little bit more freedom than normally to sort of just, hey, let's go for this. Let's see what happens. And then, it just happened that, Kismet ended up on HBO Max, and the rest is history. But I think for sure, I think that was definitely in the sauce to begin with.
What is your relationship with Pete Brownguard on the production? Is it, do you report to him every day, or is it like a more looser thing?
Yeah, well, now I'm actually supervising directing on the show, which I've been doing for, I guess, maybe 3 weeks now, 3 to 4 weeks. And
cool.
so, yeah, I'm getting to participate in, when I was animation director, I was my 100% 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was like focused on just the animation. And now I'm just kind of getting a little bit of a peek behind the curtain of what all the directors have been doing this whole time, which is, amazing. One thing I never got to do was interact with any of the actors, being there for the records or the mixes or anything. So I'm getting to do a lot of that stuff now, which is really fun and just like so informative. The amount of stuff that someone like a Pete Brownguard has to do in a day, I don't understand how he does it. And but he's been so helpful with me, getting me up to speed on and keeping up with all this. So yeah, we kind of interact fairly often, just kind of keeping track and making sure that even though we're on the latter half of things, like we want to keep the quality up, and we really want to make all these shorts as special as they possibly can.
So let's go back to Tweety. You said Tweety is one of your favorite characters. What has been your favorite Tweety short that you've worked on so far?
Oh, this one's tough because as cheesy as this is going to sound, it hasn't come out yet. But
another tease.
I know, yeah, ultimate tease, but it's true. I swear it's true. There is a Tweety one coming out that is pretty spectacular, and I can't wait for everyone to see it. It's really gonna knock people's socks off. It's great.
Wow, I can't wait.
But like now, my favorite one, I'm such a fan. Like my sense of humor, my sensibilities is like I was born and raised on Abbott and Costello. That's like my ultimate favorite thing in the whole world. It's like a glass of warm milk for me. So A Tale of Two Kitties was my favorite one, just because they were, their essence was involved in it, and I was just like, that's my jam for sure. That one.
Yeah, and that's why we're celebrating the character this year, because that short came out in 1942, November 21st. It's insane how much time has passed.
So but crazy.
This character lives on in the reverence of people like you and people like me who just keep putting them in the zeitgeist and bringing them back and talking about them, and our love will never die for Tweety. So
absolutely.
Where can people find you online?
I'm terrible at social media. I know I'm so inconsistent. I need to consistently post more stuff, but on Instagram I'm just Joe Caps, all one word, on Instagram. And then Twitter, I'm at Joe Cartoon Guy. I think
yes.
Yes, I think that's it. I apologize if that's wrong, but those are the two spots where I mainly post stuff, and I'll try to be better about getting more stuff out there. But yeah.
You've already posted such phenomenal work with drawings of Yosemite Sam, Bugs Bunny. Like, what else do you need?
Yeah, I just gotta keep getting better. Hold myself to high standards. I want to hopefully never stop learning. The day I stop learning, then it's not fun. But
that's the goal. That's the goal.
Absolutely.
But we do need a Daffy. We need a Daffy from you.
All right, I'll get it out there. I'm sure I could use some more Daffy time. I need to work on my Daffies.
That wild and crazy mallard. And you guys can follow the podcast on social medias at This Means Podcast, or on Twitter at This Means Pod. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and just spread the love of Looney Tunes. And if you haven't watched the new shorts, hop on over to HBO Max and give them a try. And, comment with your favorite Looney Tunes shorts featuring work by this guy on Looney Tunes cartoons, or even just Tweety shorts that you love and you want to celebrate Tweety with. And keep it right here, because we're going to have full-on Tweety coverage all through the year, and continue to check out Looney Tunes cartoons as they drop those new shorts. I've been your host, Jonathan Graves, and as always, that's not all, folks. Have a good day.
Don't do it! Hey, Babbitt! Oh, Babbitt! Babbitt!
What's the matter now?
I'm afraid of the dark.
Well, I'll let you out then.
I thought I tore a putty cat. I did. I tore a putty cat. Oh, the poor putty cat. He crushed his witty head.
Shout out to everybody.
Yeah, shout out to everybody. I always want to praise others, because it's just like, it really is. It doesn't work without each one of them. If one of these people was not involved, it's not what it is. Like, They really were so important to it. Like, to me, David Gimmel is another one. Like, each one of the directors, Ryan Kramer's, one of my favorites is Siberian Sam. It was one of the earlier ones, and that's a Ryan Kramer one. And that to me was just like, I think he worked with Andy Gonzalez on that one as Yosemite Sam. So it was like the two of them, they just know that character so well. Like, it was just like, to me, it was just perfect. Like, you take out any one of these people and it just isn't the same. Like, I just lightning in a bottle, I guess, with in terms of timing.
We're lucky to have them all.
Yeah, I agree.